Hello, my friends. Welcome back to a new series of videos I'm going to be doing, which I think I'm just going to call Pointless Challenges. And the inspiration behind this is basically once you get to playing the difficult maps, once you get to play the harder maps, the game just kind of feels the same from run to run. Well, I mean, it is slightly differently, but you can kind of solve the same problems in the same way every time. So I'm just going to challenge myself to solve things in totally different ways by adding pointless challenges on top of the normal gameplay and just seeing if I could do it. If I fail horribly, I'm going to release it that way. These are going to be released in parts because I don't know if I'm going to be able to commit to a regular schedule or anything, and I don't want to keep updating these irregularly. So let's just start up and let's see what we can get. So I'm going to start a new game. Let's go to Survival. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to select a map for this before I talk about the challenges. So I'm going to be on the Verdante asteroid, whatever this is called. The Sea just calls it Lush, so we could refer to it by either one. So I'm going to start here, and that's because this is going to be relevant for one of my challenges, just to make sure that I can actually complete it. So you could normally do something like this and see if you could get something random to work with, but I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to choose a map on purpose. But we'll get to that in just a second. Let me talk about the challenges that we're going to do, though. The challenges are going to be, first, take every single dupe until we have 100 of them. This means we cannot ignore the printing pod. I will eventually put it on automation so that the game pauses to tell me that I have a new dupe, so I can't do anything else until then. I'm going to also only be on manual power. This means I cannot use coal, I can't use oil, I can't use natural gas, I can't use solar, can't use anything. Only dupes can generate power. That's the only power source I can have for the entire game. And this is going to be pretty crazy. This last one is not as crazy, just more so of a flavor thing. I'm going to produce every single food type. So this means like hamburgers, this means surf and turf, this means tofu, this means everything. So I need to have systems for producing every single one of these food types and also follow these other restrictions or else we lose. So, I have no idea how this is going to go. I'm going to need to be hyper efficient and really creative in how I'm going to be doing a lot of these things. And I think I'm honestly kind of scared about doing this, so what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to find a good map for us. And what I'm going to use for that is I'm going to use a tool called Tools Not Included. Let's check this out really quickly. So we already know we're going to be on Verdante. I'm going to add a few traits that I know I want to have. So I want to have Geoactive because I want to have a lot of geysers and vents and stuff like that to work with, because that'll at least help a little bit. I'm going to go with a frozen core, only because I've actually never done a run on that before, as weird as that sounds. Every time I've randomized, it's just never given me that. And I also want to have metal rich, because we're going to be on Verdante. There's usually not a lot of metal there, and I don't want to be struggling super duper hard, especially if I'm expecting to support 100 dupes. I'm going to need a lot of metal for that. So I'm going to roll with these, and let's go ahead and search until we find something that we like. And I'm going to skip this whole searching process because it's going to be pretty boring for me to just look through one of them one at a time. Let's go to the exact one that I know we're going to use because I've looked at this earlier. I'm going to use this one down here at the very bottom. This one's going to have a cool slush geyser, 2 of them. That's going to be really handy for cooling. Natural gas geysers we don't really care that much about because we can't actually use them. But it also has iron volcanoes and copper volcanoes, which I'm really going to make use out of. Chlorine vent is going to matter for bleach stone a little bit later, which we'll get to. Yeah, and the rest of this looks okay. I could search for this a little bit more exhaustively, but this looks good enough, I think. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this. I'm going to copy this seed. I'm going to go back into the game here as I joke on my scenes. There we go. And in the game, I'm going to paste the seed here and hit enter. And now we can see we have the exact properties that we talked about here. And the reason I'm choosing Verdante in general is because this is one of the asteroids that's capable of producing every food type. Especially the nosh beans can only occur in a certain biome. And I also want to make sure I can still get the water weed and stuff like that. So yeah, let's give this a try and see if this is actually going to work. Let's go ahead and start. Something new that I just noticed is asteroids now come out of the temporal tear, which is kind of cool. I don't think that ever happened before, but I could be wrong. Definitely a nice little addition there. Oh, I need to get rid of my challenges. Let's do that. I will put them back up during the game so that when we play through, we can actually see what the active challenges are. And here we go. Let's do our typical thing where we find the right dupes, and thank you to whoever pointed this out before. I'm going to consider only getting builders, a miner, and a researcher to start off. That means that they have to have those traits. We're going to search for just a little bit until we find something that we like. And I'm not going to search too hard because, again, this is not the most entertaining portion of a run. So, whatever. This is good enough. I'll deal with that. Digging and researching. We already have a researcher. Let's re-roll. There we go. Can't do cooking and interior decorator. Okay, sure, whatever. Bubbles. I kind of want a stronger researcher than you. Anemic. Yeah, I don't really want that. Okay, this is good enough, I think. Better air consumption and gonna eat more calories. So I have two people that are gonna require a lot of calories, which will put a little bit more pressure on me, but that's okay. I'll have a video separately talking about this. And let's name our colony. I don't know what to call it, so let's just make something up. That was not going away. That's kind of a weird thing. Anyway, let's call it the Pointless People Place. How about that? That's a pretty great name. Alright, Camille, we need to label these guys really quickly. You're a builder. Max, you are a miner. And Otto, you are a researcher. This is going to get out of hand really fast with all these extra dupes, so I don't know if I'm going to wind up renaming all of them, but we'll see. So let's embark. I'm going to play through this just a little bit, not for too long, only because playing through can be kind of boring, and I've calculated this out, and if I was going to play this for about 60 cycles, that would mean that I would need to, or sorry, not 60 cycles, 1,000 cycles, which is about what I'm estimating. It may take a little bit longer than that. That's like 60 hours of gameplay, and I just don't, frankly, think I can be entertaining for 60 straight hours, so this is going to be another one of those games where we take breaks in between videos. I'll update you with interesting stuff as it happens, but I will play in longer segments than I do in my walkthrough video, for example. So this is meant to be kind of like a casual hangout type of video, sort of like a Let's Play, but not the whole thing, only because the whole thing is going to be really long. So I'll just update every so often, and we'll talk about things as they happen. What I'm always going to typically want to do, which I haven't done yet because I'm slacking, is make some outhouses. Prioritize those pretty high. A lot of people have asked me about hand washing, by the way, and I'm just going to talk about random tips or random discussions that I have throughout these videos. A lot of people have asked me about hand washing at this phase of the game. I don't really care that much about hand washing. By the way, I haven't looked at this actual map yet, so we have very little water to work with. That kind of is not great. Had people ask me about hand washing, and I think hand washing is just such a low priority that it's not really important until later in the game when you have all of your other systems up, and I still believe that, like, you could deal with it this early, but I guess I just don't care enough is the ultimate reason. It's partly that I don't care enough, partly that there's a lot of players that are watching my videos that are wanting tips on how to play as a new player, and I really don't want to have them be encouraged to do things that are going to potentially distract them. By the way, I'm going to try to not pause because I know pausing is kind of boring. So I'm going to change the priorities here really quickly of everybody. We need this person to be a builder, we need you to be a miner, and you need you to be a researcher. So I don't want to do things super often that encourages new players to just make the game harder for themselves. And I think hand washing is so kind of irrelevant until later in the game that I just don't bother with it. So that sounds kind of callous, but I do truly believe that. I believe there's a lot more important things that need to get done, and I just don't think it's worthy of the distraction. And another thing I'm always going to say is that if you want to play a certain way, like, you should play that way. The beauty of these kinds of games is that there's not a singular way to play, and if there was, it would be really boring. So you should use whatever you want to do. If you want to have hand washing, if you want to avoid germs like the plague, which is unfortunately very relevant nowadays, but if you want to do that, you should do it. I don't have any problem with people playing differently than me. I'm just going to explain why I play the way that I play, and I don't think that hand washing is that big of a deal. So yeah, that's why I don't do it, and I get a lot of questions about that kind of stuff, which is totally fine. Let's start setting up our power and stuff. Again, we can only rely on manual generators, so I will not be ranching hatches more than likely this game. I'll need to ranch some other critters for other supplies, so I think hatches may be something I pass on. Maybe. I haven't totally decided that yet. I also haven't super thought through this run yet. I've thought through whether this run is actually like possible from a resource standpoint, but the actual mechanics of it I haven't thought through too much, so I'm just going to be kind of learning on the fly. Let's set up our research stations as well. So what I think I'm probably going to do is not have too many hatches. If I do get them, the only upside I can see is for metal refining, which is usually a big power drain, so I might actually do that. I don't know yet. There's also going to be the volcanoes that we're going to capture that will give us refined metal for free and won't require any dupe time, so I don't know. The other challenge here, and this is going to be really informal, is that we have 100 dupes that we're eventually going to have. Since I'm going to have to take one every single time the printing pod goes off, that means that our performance is going to get really bad, and the thing that will make it worse is a lot of critters. So that's going to be part of another challenge, is kind of competing against my computer to make sure that that's doing what it needs to do. Let me start setting up my Great Hall, which I'm going to need some research for. I'm going to try not to pause. It's such a habit just to pause at certain points. So the first thing I need on this research is I will need this employment, because I need a water cooler for my Great Hall. So I'll get that, and then I will get the flower pots next, and we will plant a plant inside there, and we will make a Great Hall so we can start getting our morale built up. I will also say that this is not rehearsed like I've mentioned before, so there is a very high likelihood that I will make mistakes periodically and do some dumb stuff. So if you see it, call it out. That's totally fine to call out my dumbness, but it's going to happen, so don't expect me to play perfectly. Also, like I was mentioning with the produce every food type rule, oh, I forgot to put this up. Here we go. With the produce every food type rule, which I can only see in my little overlay here where I'm recording videos, something I can't do with that is I can't get every food type literally, because as far as I know, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, I think Hexcellent, which is this, and Muckroot are mutually exclusive. I don't think it's possible to get them both on the same map unless you were to mod the game. So that's why it's not possible to get literally everything. And the nutrient bars, oh man, I'm starting to idle here. I need to keep going. Getting distracted. It's really hard to talk and do stuff at the same time. Alright, the nutrient bars are not something that's really renewable. You'll only find them in vending machines, so I can't really regularly produce those. I also can't regularly produce Hexcellent, I can't regularly produce Muckroot. So I try to use the vocabulary to produce every food type, because that's going to limit it down to only the food types I can actually routinely produce. So yeah, that's what that was all about. I try not to pause, it's such a bad habit. Alright. So I'm going to start building out my Great Hall here. Let's build our water cooler, which we don't need to actually fill to get the benefits from. We don't have our decor yet, but we should have... Oh no, I skipped a step. Look at me messing up. I need to get food. There we go. Because we do need to start growing our own food here pretty soon, even though this map actually spawns with a lot of natural plants. These can be really useful when you need to scrape for supplies, but I'm not going to be worried about them too much. You can also rely on the pips to make these natural farms if you want to, but I don't think I'm that desperate, and they take a lot more effort and a lot more time. Since I'm going to be taking on dupes really heavily, we're going to have to find ways to scale up besides relying on pips, since they can be kind of slow. Build some more ladders down there. Hurry up and get on the research auto. We're bored. Tired of waiting for you. And you can see how much faster these dupes really perform if you get the super specialized ones at the beginning of the game. I'm only on cycle 3 and already pretty far in as far as like getting research done, getting my stuff dug out in a bunch of different directions. So things are going pretty well. I really need to keep an eye on the rest of the map here for too high of temperatures, because I don't know if I'll hit something that's super hot or super cold. I don't think that I will. What I can also do, if I want to get some free food here, is I can start marking some of these plants for harvest. So I'm going to start doing that a little bit before I start digging them out too much. Which, again, I'm not going to be doing super long term, but if they're already planted and if I don't have my research yet, I might as well do that. Should be completing here in just a second. And there we go. We don't have everything we need quite yet. I do need some oxygen sources here, which is probably going to be these oxyferns for the time being. Oh man, Lush is going to make this a lot harder. Might need to start getting into the slime biome earlier than I want to. This complicates things. Totally not something I was considering. Yeah, this is bad. Okay, I didn't consider this at all. Yeah, we have a lot of oxyferns here. We could probably start moving the oxyferns down at the bottom of our base and using some of this water for it. I'm going to get off of that as soon as I can, but I think I have to do that for the time being. As I mentioned, you are going to see the problems in real time as I'm seeing them, so this is going to be probably filled with a handful of mistakes. So be prepared for that. Oh, our printing pod's going off, so we definitely need to take somebody. What do we want? We don't want flatulent dupes more than likely. This guy will be useful because he's a farmer. Farmer. There we go. Let's go. We also have skill points we need to spend. Let's go ahead and grab some of those. Oh, on the new guy. Okay, farming, sure. I don't need tutorials, game. Stop trying to educate me. I want to be ignorant. So yeah, trying to think of how we're going to solve these oxygen problems. I'm going to need to start getting into slime biomes really soon, I think, because that's going to be a big problem. And I'm also probably going to need to get on electrolyzers really soon as well. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm just realizing how hard this is actually going to be. Okay. I'm just going to continue to shape out my base while I have time to think and try not to pause, because pausing is boring. Okay, so let's plan out our oxygen. Oxyferns are not very good. They're pretty bad as far as putting out enough for each dupe. I think you need like 3 per dupe, and that will suck my water down really fast. Something we can do is we can start relying on polluted water. We can rely on some algae generating it. We can rely on some slime. But we may need to rush electrolyzers really fast, which is going to be a heat problem. Which means I'm going to need to find ice really fast. Okay, so I think what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to dig out here pretty far. I'm going to try to keep these videos probably about 30 minutes per, just so you're aware, and just so if it feels like I'm rambling about nothing, I'm going to have to do that sometimes, and that's okay. Alright, pause, I didn't mean to. Start setting up our food. Sure, let's not put too much thought into it right now, because we can always move it. Let's get our mess tables up. And let's get our research for decor. There we go. Then we'll be able to build something in here that will give us enough decor for it. Here's our grills and egg crackers. I'm not going to worry about the producing every food type until I'm more stable, because the first 2 are going to be a big problem. They're going to be very difficult to solve. So I'm going to just not worry about food types. I'm going to be trying to be efficient on food types. That'll be a much later game problem that we have to solve. Oh, I need to increase my farmers' priorities. There we go. I also think, and I'm going to try to think out loud about this, I'm going to probably have a, like, prison area, and that sounds pretty awful, but I think I'm going to have to do this. A prison area for people that are going to be doing nothing but generating power for me. So I'm going to have that area be filled with food and oxygen, obviously, just to keep them alive. But their only job is just going to be to make power for me, which is quite the dystopian future, but I think that what's going to be what I have to do, so I don't have dupes running around and losing time to them coming back to generate power all the time. I'm just going to have a bunch of them that are basically human batteries that just do nothing but create power for me. So that's going to be interesting. I really need to solve my oxygen problems. Let's get a pump up. Count this off. I think that's 4. Yes. And then you usually want your oxyferns to be pretty down low. So because this water's in the way, I'm just going to go ahead and build something like this. And I'm going to put the oxyferns down here for the time being. Oh man, I really don't want to do this. This is probably not the greatest map to do this on. This would have been so much easier in the temperate biome, but whatever. We'll figure this out. Let's make it even harder on ourselves. How about that? Alright, Great Hall needs to come up. And I need to dig a little bit of a path into here so that filling these up is quicker. Oh man, this could be a lot of oxyferns. Obviously can't build there. I'll build it anyway, even though I can't plant there. Okay, we need more research. Let's keep up on that. So what else do we need on research? We would typically need a way to grow food, but I'm going to be relying on mealwood for a little while, so we don't need that. Don't need ranching. We're not going to get any of this power stuff, because we don't... Well, we do need some of it. Like, I want to eventually get some of these conductors and stuff. I don't want to stay on the basic stuff. So I don't need that right away. Let's see what else we need. Maybe some advanced research would be a good place to start. Let me plant my plant here to get my Great Hall, which we should be able to see here pretty soon. Right now it's a mess hall. It should turn into a Great Hall as soon as I get that thing planted. So we should be good. I think it's the right size for it. Let's check. 32 to 120. Yeah. We just need a decor item of 20, and I'm pretty sure those plants will do that. Let's check if we have more mealwood seeds, and we do. I'm starting to get really worried about our oxygen capabilities. We do have lumps of oxalite here that'll help a little bit. That's actually quite a bit, but I still do want to get this stabilized sooner rather than later, so let's start prioritizing this a little bit more heavily. As far as priorities, I haven't talked about that too much. There is a general rule that I like to follow, which is more of like a work idea, and that is that if everything you're trying to do is high priority, that means that nothing is high priority. So I try to keep things that I want them to immediately do at around 7. I usually reserve 8 and 9 for like, we have to do this or we will die type of tasks. So 7 is usually meaning like, this is a pretty high priority, this is something we should probably be paying attention to. But it's not like dire. Get some of these oxyferns planted down here. And let me prioritize this as well. My farmer should be able to take care of this stuff. I think I'll just change priorities if they become a problem. So go ahead and open this up a little bit more and add more bathrooms. I do need to explore for ice. That's a big thing that I need. I need to stay focused on my long-term oxygen generation right now. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem. Start getting some of this dug out as soon as my dupe has the skill for it. There is no power. That's fine. Skills. Hurry up. I need to be able to dig over there. Once I find ice, we can start making a pool of polluted cold water. That'll at least help us cool down any of our oxygen needs, and then we can start producing water once we find a geyser or something like that. We could potentially use a saltwater geyser, but our power needs are going to increase really fast, but that's okay. I'm going to have to live with that for a little while. Get some more outhouses here. Check the time. We're at about 22 minutes. That's fine. Get some more oxyferns. Unreachable dig? What are you guys doing? Maybe I'll just have to not build this right away. There we go. Actually, I probably could have done it just with that. Once my miner comes down here and digs this out, we'll go ahead and get our pump up so we can get our water pumped and into these plants, which I'm going to probably have to start moving here. This is something I haven't thought of. Am I going to need salt? Whoops. Yes. If anybody has played the original Mario Party, that's where... I say that quote every once in a while, and I don't think anybody ever knows what it's from. And in that voice specifically. Like, if you lose at Mario Party in, like, a minigame, a voice will come on and it'll say, "Miss!" So I'll say that, but I don't think anybody ever gets what that's from. Yeah. Anyway. No, Pips! Oh, I hate you. I don't want you to do this. Also because I don't want to spend resources on that. These pips can be really annoying if you don't want to use them for their seed planting capabilities. They can be really useful for those. I may talk about those in like a farming or a ranching type of video, but I don't want that right now. I need to be able to stabilize my oxygen and start getting out onto the map and finding sources of it. I can start digging down to some of this algae, but I really want to get my research up for handling any of the polluted oxygen. You will be that. This may also force... Oh man, I need to start killing these shine bugs. This may also force me to change a couple of things. Those shine bugs distracted me. I lost my train of thought. Alright, maybe we'll get back to that. Attacking, I want the miner to do it because for some reason they're better suited for it if they are a good miner. I don't really understand that, but okay. Yeah, oxygen sources. So I may go down and try to find some of this algae. I do need to prioritize my research as such, so let's start getting into that. Now that my skills are coming in, this is starting to be really helpful. We can get these areas all taken care of over here. We have the research for that. So I'm going to start researching some of my purification. Oh, I think what I was going to say is I'm going to start trying to collect wastewater from my dupes and turn that into polluted oxygen. I think that's better than just polluting dirt for right now, even though they're kind of fundamentally both the same idea, because they're both going to be producing something that turns it into oxygen. I don't know what's better. This is something I've never had to think about before, which is what's the rate of oxygen production from either polluted dirt or polluted water. I would instinctively say they're probably the same, but I'm not sure. Anyway, let's get our decontamination up. Then we can start getting into the slime biomes. We need a supercomputer. There we go. It's exactly what my supercomputer looks like personally. That does not seem very functional. There's only like 4 buttons and a lever. I don't know how you do anything on a computer like that. Printing pod's about to go off. This challenge also means something interesting that I never thought of, and that is that if I'm taking stuff from the printing pod every cycle, that means I'm not getting supplies from the printing pod, which is pretty interesting. Got a great haul up, by the way. Maybe I'll start producing a bedroom. Maybe. Let's see. Let me think about this for a second. I actually think that I'm not going to do the water solution for oxygen. I think I'm going to stay on these outhouses, and that's only because of the... no. I'm trying to think of what's better. I only have so much clean water. That's my initial thought. I don't want to go too hardcore into spending my water right now, because I'm already having to spend it on stuff that I don't want to yet. We need to also make a storage box for our food so that it doesn't spoil. So I'm going to do something. I'm trying to figure out where I want to do it. I want to do it somewhere near here. That means somebody will also have to run supplies there. I'm not going to worry about that for right now. We will eventually. Got some ventilation. I have to clear these notifications. Go ahead and harvest this because it's free. Should probably start digging up some of these so that we can get actual oxygen generation down here. We have someone in our printing pod we need to take. Okay, who are we taking? We want somebody... these are all pretty bad. Sure. I guess we could use a janitor. Charlie the dude. Janito. They're just gonna be the dude. Alright. Pretty good name for a duplicant general. The dude. Especially a janitor. I could imagine them being so helpful. You're like, hey man, need any help with your stuff? I can help. Very appreciative. Okay. If I was thinking through this a little bit more, I probably would have had slime molds also, because oxygen's going to be a big problem. But I guess that's part of the challenge, right? They are pointless and they are challenges. Actually, I should probably update the text here. Hold on. Pointless challenges. Does that still stay on the screen? That's not great. Let me move this. Get off the edge. There we go. I think we're okay with that. Alright, cool. Got some plumbing stuff going on here. Airflow tiles. Airflow tiles I think I'm going to start replacing. Let me measure this out. We have 26, which I typically do. 12, so halfway through where this starts. Is that right? Why does that look wrong? 12. 12. Yep, okay. The rest of this we'll worry about later. Especially this stuff. 12. Okay. Get some food planted here. Yeah, I know we have insufficient oxygen generation. This is going to be a problem for a little while. Get some more of these down here. Plant. Copy. There we go. Yeah, we're going to need to get into algae and stuff like that really soon. Or waiting for these to pay off. They're almost there. Ah, this is hard. I haven't thought about this at all, and I'd probably just sit and think about this for a little while, but doing these videos is forcing me to think on my feet, which is probably better. Alright, we're at about 30 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and call it good for this first video. I'm going to be releasing these as they come out, or as I'm done with them. I'm not going to hoard them like I did with the other video series that I've done before. Mostly because I want to do this every so often, maybe like twice a week or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But I will be producing them regularly so that I can get feedback from you guys. You guys can share some ideas that you have. We can kind of go through this together. So let's call this good for right now. I have dupes idling, so let me just save my game, which I'm going to typically do. Let me save this as pointless people place 1. Because that'll be video number 1. We'll call that good. Alright. Finally, we'll call it good. I'll be back with a new video here really soon. Oh, this looks ugly with that UI there. Alright, I'm going to stop distracting myself, and we're good to go, so I'll be back with another video here really soon. Drop some comments down below if you have any suggestions on what we should be doing in this run, and I will get to them, and I'll be producing videos maybe every few days or so. I'm not exactly sure how often, but I'll be back. Yeah, until then, I'll see you guys soon.